Alright, what's going on YouTube? So, I've been playing Alisa about a month now. Been having a lot of fun with Tekken 8. But I've decided it's of course time to move on, playing a character each month, a new character each month. So, this video will kind of be a, what I've learned / starter guide for Alisa. And let's go ahead and just kind of get into the video here. So first off, there are clearly better players than me to watch and how to learn Alisa. We finished our rank climb with Battle Ruler, so I couldn't quite get into Blue, but we did finish with a 60% win rate. Not too bad. Respectable. Could have possibly gotten Blue if I stuck it out, but it is time to move on. So the players that I recommend watching, first, of course, being Cuddlecore. She is a Red Bull coach. She has played in multiple tournaments. She is an Alisa main. She loves Alisa. She probably has a ton of tech that I do not have, so make sure you check her out. I will link her YouTube down below in the description. The second thing, or the second player to watch, of course, is Chanel. He is a Korean player, also an Alisa main, played in a ton of tournaments in Tekken 7, probably going to play in Tekken 8. I could not find his YouTube, unfortunately, so if someone knows what it is or has a link for maybe like his Twitch or whatever he uses, feel free to comment that and I will pin it and we will get into that. Thank you very much for that. Alisa is a real hit-and-run, poke-heavy character. You really want to use your pokes to kind of really chip away at the opponent's life and then kind of force them to make a move. And then, by using your excellent movement, bait them into whiffing so that you can take a full punish. She's really excellent at that. You'll spend most of your time kind of play the game around that, kind of the mid-range, poke-heavy stuff. And then when she goes into stance, her destructive form, or which I will simply call Chainsaw, you can kind of get a little more aggressive, but her general playstyle is that we want to be poke heavy and we want to whiff punish with her excellent movement tools. Alright, let's go over Alisa's stances. So she technically has 4. Your main one is destructive form. You can get into that manually by doing down 1+2. And so this is Chainsaw. You have a lot of good moves out of this. So things like down 1. This is pretty evasive, as you see. She kind of ducks. You also have 2. That kind of sway she does can sometimes high crush, which is really nice. There's a ton of options that she has in Chainsaw, so if your opponent kind of lets you stay in Chainsaw, you kind of basically won the match. The downside to her stance, or this stance in particular, is that all it takes is one move, whether you block or get hit, to take you out of the stance, so it's pretty easy to get out of the stance. But you just have so many moves. You have a homing move, you have your standing one, which is I have a 13 frames of startup, you have a launcher, which gives you a combo. You have a homing low with 3 hits automatically. This evasive low. She has a ton of great options, so an opponent really can't afford to let you stand or stay in the stance for too long. And as you can see, you can cancel in Tekken. You can cancel any stance with the exception of Leroy and Xiao Yu by holding down back. Leroy and Xiao Yu are special, but all of the stances can be canceled by holding down back. And so that's like her premier stance, and those are kind of the most common moves that I'll use is standing 1, or chainsaw 1, chainsaw down 1, chainsaw down 2, chainsaw 2. It's pretty rare that I use 1+2, but if it comes up, if your opponent keeps sidestepping a lot. So her next 3 stances are kind of stances that you kind of go into out of moves. You typically rarely will do it manually. You can do them all manually, but more often than not you'll do them out of a move. So let's talk about backup. So to get into backup, you do back down 1. So this is her backup stance, and you can do like backup 1. And as you can see, backup only lasts for like 1 frame. If you can go into crouch from backup as well, and to get your while standing moves to come out. But backup 1, backup 4, backup 2. So this I rarely go into manually. It's a pretty good way of trying to bait your opponent into whiffing if you can do like a high crush. But for the most part, this comes out after her down 3. So down 3 into backup 1, and then down 3 into backup 4. So it is important to know your options off of that stance because that's what you kind of puts you into after down 3. And of course you can delay for a second to go into your crouch mix-ups after down 3. The next 2 stance is called boot and dual boot. They're very similar. So boot is forward 3+4, and Alisa will fly towards the enemy. I don't really use this move too often in the open. It's pretty linear. It can be sidestepped, and there's not a lot of great options in it. So you have 1+2, which is unblockable, but it's very slow, and they can duck it, and they can hit you out of it. So I don't really use it that often. You have you have boot 2, which is a mid option. You have boot 3, which is a low. And then she has the string 1, 2, 1, 3+4. It is lost punishable block. You do that string pretty much only in like niche like mini combos, so I rarely use it. So out of boot, I typically do the mid. It is safe on block, or the low. Those are like the two go-to moves that I use out of that stance. And once again, I rarely use it manually because you put yourself at a pretty big disadvantage by doing this, because it's linear, it's sidesteppable, and you're moving forward, and so they can hit you. And as you saw there, you can hit back to go into backup. So you can kind of bait the opponent, but as you can see, if your opponent's quick enough, you'll get hit, and that's kind of a pain. So I don't use this move too often, or I don't use that stance too often. She also has a stance called dual boot, so you can only access this while in chainsaw. So go into chainsaw and then hit forward 3, and she'll fly at the opponent again, but this time with chainsaws. This does change your moves, so boot 1 now uses your chainsaw, of course. Boot 2 will launch them into the air. You have evasive options. Once again, this is not a stance that I use too often. I will use it to kind of mix with the opponent after I land like a 2 throw, and then you can go into like chainsaw here, and to continue the pressure, do something like that. You can do forward 2-2. You can do forward 2-2 to kind of do that. But that is launch punishable if they block both hits. So you definitely want to make sure you're mixing that up with something like dual boot 1, which is plus on block, or dual boot 2. That's also less punishable on block though, so be very careful. And then I believe dual boot 3, yeah, so both boot and dual boot 3 is a low. So there are ways of mixing up the opponents, but in general, her main stance is destructive form, and her other stances kind of only come out after a move, and are pretty situational in my opinion. But it is important to, go ahead and look at the move list and just kind of see what she has off of them, especially if you want to be an Alisa main, because I'm sure there's some tools that I just haven't been using that might be good, but for the most part, I've gotten by just relying on those 4 moves I've listed in Chainsaw, and then those couple of moves that I've listed out of boot and dual boot. Alright, let's talk about Alisa in Heat. So she has all of the same things that apply to all other characters. She has 3 additional things while she is in Heat. 1, your chainsaw moves will do more chip damage. 2, she has a new way of going to dual boot with forward 1+4. And she also has a new way, or the same command for entering chainsaw is now armor, so you can eat an attack and then continue your pressure. Her Heat Smash is a very slow startup. I get counter hit of it all the time, but it is an excellent mid-range whiff punish and an excellent pressure tool. It has 3 hits, I believe, 3 or 4, and afterwards you can either use 3 or 4 or forward 3 and 4 to go into boot or dual boot, depending on your selection. Alright, let's go over Alisa's punishers. Her fastest punish at 10 frames is 1-1. This is natural on hit, leaves you +5 on hit, and nets you 23 damage. You also have the option of doing 1-1 and 1+2 to put yourself in Chainsaw. This allows you to mix up your offense and keep your opponent on their toes. I recommend only using this move as a punish, as it is not natural on block, and the second hit can be ducked and you can be punished for it. 11 frame punisher. Alisa lacks any 11 frame punisher. Simply default to using her 10 frame 1-1. Alisa's best 12 frame punish is 2-2. This is natural on hit and gives you 32 damage. It does knock the opponent quite far away from you. However, at the wall, this gives you a wall splat so that you can get a follow-up. Once again, I really only recommend using this move as a punish, as the second hit can be ducked and you can be punished. My go-to 13 frame punish with Alisa is 3-2. This move is natural on hit, nets you 30 damage, and more importantly is a heat engager that leaves you in chainsaw. Your chainsaws do additional chip damage on block in heat. This allows you to really pressure your opponent after the punish. It's important to note 3-2 actually comes out in 13 to 14 frames, and there are certain conditions in which the move will come out in 14 frames. A good example is after blocking Yoshi's back 2-2. In that case, you can simply punish with her standing 4, which is also 13 frames. As an Alisa main, you'll simply have to check and learn which moves you can punish with 3-2 and which moves you have to punish with standing 4. However, the go-to should always be 3-2. 14 frame punish. Alisa has an amazing 14 frame punish with 4-3-2. This move is natural on hit, leaves you in chainsaw, and guarantees a mini combo for 47 damage with forward 3-2, forward 2-1-2. I use this move as a whiff punisher all the time, and any chance I can get to punish a 14 frame move such as Raina's headbutts or scorpion kicks, I take it, because 50 damage is nothing to snuff at. It's important to note that this move is a high, and if you use it without caution, they can duck the second hit and punish you. I recommend using it as a whiff punisher or simply a 14 frame punish. "15 frame punisher. Alisa's fastest launchers are hop kick, up forward 4-4. She has other launchers like down forward 2, but that move is actually 16 frames, so it's not great for punishing. Situational punish. There are certain moves in the game that are punishable, but because of pushback become much safer. A prime example of course being Paul's Death Fist. This move is technically minus 17 on block, but because of the pushback it's much safer, and you cannot actually punish with your hop kick. In this example we can use the move Cradle Star, or up forward 3-2, to punish this move. As an Alisa main, you'll simply have to learn the unique quirks of the game and which punish does and doesn't work. I've listed all of them on the screen for your convenience. Alright, let's go over Alisa's wall standing punishers. So Alisa's wall standing punishers kind of suck. A lot of her kit is based elsewhere, so her fastest wall standing punish is wall standing 4. At 13 frames, she has wall standing 1, 2, 3. This string is not natural, only wall standing 1, 2 is. The third hit is not natural. If it does hit, it is a launcher, so that's kind of cool, but you only get the first hit on natural, so your opponent has to be kind of hitting buttons. So this is wall standing 2. It actually comes out in 17 frames. So it still allows you to punish those like real big lows like Snake Edge and things like that. There are certain lows that if they're minus 16, she actually cannot punish. So that's important to keep in mind, that your wall standing 2 is 17 to 18 frames. So it's very, very slow. She also has a wall standing 3. I hate this move because it puts you in this kind of mini stance called Clockwork, and you either have to use it or do a low version of it. It's really only effective, I think it is 19 frame startup, so it is a move that I use very, very rarely, and it will probably not be used by you either, kind of depending. And that's all she really has for wall standing punishment. Oh, she also has wall standing 1+2. This is a homing move. It is very, very slow, so I rarely use it as well, but it is there. Alisa in crouch also has a couple of other moves that you can use, so they're not while standing, but she does have crouch back 1+2 for a throw. And then she also has down 1+2 for Sad Hound. This is actually a pretty good low, so if you get forced into crouch, or you crouch evade a move, that is one option to kind of mix it for your opponent instead of just using like while standing punishers. Alright, let's go ahead and talk about just kind of generally good moves Alisa has. So, I mean, every second character, of course, has hundreds of moves and whatnot. So I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm just going to kind of go through a couple of decent ones. And of course, you want to, if you're going to be a main or learn more Alisa, come and actually look at this move list and kind of look at the move and see what's good and what's not that great. So first off, her jab. Her jab is pretty decent range because of the way she stands, kind of like her left shoulder forward. So it's a pretty good kind of poke tool and kind of just seeing what your opponent's going to do after they block a jab. You also have back down 3. As you can see, this is a evasive or a high crushing low. You get the wrong move there. Back down 3, that little toe kick there. And you see it's evasive, high crushing, just 11 damage. It's not a lot of damage. It doesn't give you anything special on counter hit, unfortunately. Slightly more damage. But for the most part, this is just a good little poke, right? We're going to poke the opponent, chip their life away, and then we want to backdash away from the opponent, maybe sidestep, kind of bait out their attack and see what they do. Really good, just a good poking tool. Our down forward 2, this is a pretty good tool. It is 16 frames, but it is safe on block. So if your opponent is being over aggressive or you're just trying to throw out a launcher, it's much safer to throw out down forward 2 than it is up forward 4, because this being minus 13. So you want to reserve your hop kick as a punish, and then just use down forward 2 as a launcher to kind of throw out to catch the opponent if they're being overly aggressive, or just kind of to test them, maybe like a jab and do a down forward 2, something like that. Forward 2, this is an excellent move. As you can see, it has pretty decent range because she steps forward. Plus 7 on hit. It is safe on block. It's a mid. Really good mid here. And you can... it actually has an extension with forward 2-1. No, you can go into chainsaw with forward 1+2. That was an accident, but you can do forward 2-1, which is natural on hit. So if you condition your opponent, you're doing forward 2, and they're blocking, and they're starting to interrupt maybe with jabs or something, then you can finish the string to catch them off guard. Also, as you saw, it's an excellent way of going into chainsaw with forward 1+2, forward 2, 1+2. So do that, and it kind of, if it does hit, you have plus 7 frames, so you can continue the pressure. And if it's blocked, well, you probably don't have enough frames to actually do anything with chainsaw, so I would just hold back. Alisa's running move, so she has a really good running move while running 2. This is a really good running move. If it hits, you actually get a guaranteed follow-up with forward 1+2. Oh, I fucked up. So for 50 damage, excellent running move. The downside to this move, of course, that it is a high, so it can be ducked. I believe it leaves you like plus 7 on block or something. So, like, all running moves, just a really good pressure tool. If I could do it right. Yeah, or it's plus 5. Okay. So plus 5 on block. Good running tool. Great little mini combo there. That mini combo might take some practice, if you're not careful. Okay, well, if I get the running move down, you'll get the chainsaws to come out, because you can do running move into chainsaws as well. So you need to hit the opponent, wait like half a second, and then hit forward 1+2. So, an excellent running move. And a way of mixing up the running move, she actually has another one, which is while running 3-4, which will give you that. It's important to note that that is not plus on block. It is mid-mid. So, it is safe on block, but you only want to use that when your opponent starts ducking, right? Because Alisa's running move is high, or her good one is, and so they may start ducking to try to avoid it while running at them. And so you mix it up with these mids to make sure to dissuade them from doing that. So another pretty good move is down 3. This move is actually only minus 10 on block. I thought it was worse this entire time. It's only minus 10. If you try to go for any of the follow-ups out of backup or your while standing moves, you will get counter hit. So you definitely want to not do it too often out of the mid-range, because people will start to predict it and sidestep it. Doing it up close is also kind of discouraged, as the startup is pretty bad. It's 23 frames, so you can get counter hit out of it quite often. But if they don't see it coming, this is a pretty good move. And on hit, it gives you +8. So pretty good move, as long as you don't overdo it. It's a really good low. Really good range on it. So it's a good move. This also has sidestep 4. So the full string is sidestep 4, 1 + 2, -10. I don't really use this move as much as I should. I don't really care for the follow-up, but sidestep 4 is pretty good, because as you can see, it like high crushes because the way she spins, +2 on a hit. Just a really good sidestepping tool. So this one is a little situational of a move, but she also has this move where she kicks her head pretty much entirely across the screen. So forward 4, 1, 4. So that move's pretty good, especially going to someone like June, who has that kind of stance where she can sit there and then do kind of like this full screen mid, so it's really hard to approach her. So instead of that, you can just throw your head at her as if it was like a fireball from Street Fighter or some shit, because that thing travels like the entire screen, and it's kind of weird. Pretty good keep out tool, pretty good just like a way of messing with the opponent. Another good move is her down forward 1. Once again, another really decent mid. So this one does have 2 follow-ups, 1 string which is a high, down forward 1, 2, 2. I'm sorry, down forward 1, 1, 2. This leaves you +6 on block. Not natural, the second 2 hits can be ducked. And to dissuade ducking, you have down forward 1, 4. This is -11 on block. So the down forward 1 is pretty good, and then you kind of, I would throw a couple of these out just to kind of see what your opponent does. Safe on block, decent kind of range because of how she stands. She steps forward a little bit, so decent little mid range. So decent range on the down forward 1. And then you kind of just want to see what they do. If they're ducking a lot, then go ahead and finish the string with the mid option. And if they don't duck, then you can go ahead and try to go for the highs. So just kind of another good move to kind of throw in your arsenal is down 4, 1 + 2. You can just do the down 4, nice little low poke as well. And then on counter hit, the whole string is natural. So down forward 1 + 2 is natural, 38 damage, knockdown. Pretty good little option. So good little low poke as well. So there's a handful of moves that I've used quite often and I think are pretty decent. As I said, every Tekken character, of course, has hundreds of moves, and there's a ton others that you could probably find a use for, and you just have to experiment and see what works for you. These are the ones that I felt were pretty good and wanted to kind of include them to give you a general game plan. Of course, as mentioned previously in the video, you know, her game plan relies on just poking and kind of draining your opponent's life, and then backdashing or sidestepping to bait them into whiffing so that you can get a real good whiff punish. Alright, let's go over Alisa's combos. So I'm not going to go through every single combo there is, I'm just going to give you her basic bread and butters so that you can kind of just start playing. Things like 4 breaks and wall breaks and all of that fun stuff. There are plenty of other videos out there that you can watch. Like I said, which are going to get you real started with character. So off of a hop kick, she has while standing 1, 2, 3, up forward 1, forward 4, forward 1. Now I will say that combo can take some time to getting used to, because launching the opponent and then having to immediately crouch to do a while standing move is a bit odd compared to a lot of the rest of the cast combos. Also, the up forward 1, forward 4 timing, I had issues with at first, so you may have to practice that just a little bit. If you are having problems with the while standing part, you can do back 1. This move leaves you in crouching, so you can do launcher into back 1, while standing 1, 2, up forward 1, forward 4, forward 1. It's important to note you cannot finish the while standing 1, 2, 3 string, as the last hit means that you cannot finish the combo. Off of her down forward 2 launcher, I recommend using the back 1 combo, as the while standing 1, 2, 3 can be a bit inconsistent, and your opponent can tech if you're not quick enough. So it's more consistent to simply do down forward 2 into back 1. Her while standing 2 combo is also slightly different. So while standing 2 will put you in a move that allows you to go into boot, and you can do boot 3, while standing 1, 2, up forward 1, forward 4, forward 1. The last combo we're going to talk about is her low parry combo. No parries have been nerfed this game since you can no longer get a tornado spin after low parrying an opponent. Therefore, we can simply use part of our bread and butter combos to get a little damage out of the deal. We can use while standing 1, 2, 3 into up forward 1. At the end of the low parry combo, you can do up forward 1 into forward 4 to go into doable to pressure your opponent some more. Alright, let's go over Alisa's main weaknesses. So every fighting game character has strengths and weaknesses, so let's talk about Alisa's. Alisa's main weakness has always been she has very limited comeback potential, and this is true for Tekken 8 as well. The reason for this is that she doesn't have any real threatening lows. She does have down back 4 and down 3+4, but both of these are incredibly slow, and so the opponent can react to them, and they're also launch punishable on block. She also doesn't really have a good throw game. She only has 2 generic throws, 1 command throw that's broken with 1+2. She has a crouch throw, but that's also broken with 1+2. So not having lows or throws makes it really hard for her to have that comeback potential. So if you're at a life deficit, you have to work extra hard to kind of get the lead back in your favor. Alisa, being a poke-heavy character, also doesn't really have a whole lot of pressure tools. She does have a running move with while running 2, but other than that, most of her moves are not plus on block, and you don't have a whole lot of pressure tools because you're centered more around this kind of poke whiff baiting playstyle. And also because of that, she doesn't have a whole lot of counter tools. She has back 4, which is a full counter hit launcher, but other than that, there's only a handful of counter hit tools that she actually has. So for matchups, a particularly kind of bad matchup in my opinion is Steve Fox. So Steve has a lot of really quick pokes, which keeps you out of chainsaw, so you can't stay in chainsaw too long. He also really wants to stay close, being a boxer, and he gets more value being up close and just kind of pressuring you. This can be a little hard for you to kind of move around and create these whiff openings. So just kind of make sure you're aware of that. Alisa can struggle against characters who just have really strong pokes and are really aggressive, and they want to stay close because it's just hard for you to kind of create those whiffs with your movement if they're constantly up close and personal. So thanks for watching. That was my Alisa starter guide. This guide, was aimed to just kind of get you started off the ground running. Of course, you're going to have to spend more time practicing if you want to be an Alisa main. I feel this guide was a little rushed because I have to start learning Asuka and do some other stuff to get all the videos out. So I will probably, polish this up and probably re-upload another one at some time. We'll kind of see how it goes. And of course, this was my first character guide, so maybe it's a little rough around the edges, but thanks for watching if you stuck around this long. And also, I'm going to give my thoughts on the character. Had a lot of fun with Alisa. I really enjoyed her 14-frame punish. I'm going to miss having that. It was an excellent tool. Overall, I think she's pretty fun. I don't think she's my main. I just felt that, in a way, she kind of pulls herself in different directions. Because you want to play this poke-heavy, whiff-baiting style with her movement, and that makes sense. But she also has these tools with, like, boot and destructive form, and it's like, I got a jetpack and a chainsaw, man. I want to be in that guy's face. But she's not really designed to do that. So I kind of baited myself into overextending with her a couple of times, and got punished for it. It was my own fault, but it's kind of just like, I got a chainsaw and a fucking jetpack, dude. I want to get in. But overall, she was very fun. I think she's a very good character. She's a very easy, good starter character if you're new to Tekken. And I did enjoy my time, but it is time to move on. So thank you if you watched the VODs, and thank you for watching the guide. And next up, we will be learning how to play Asuka for the month of April.